Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Ally.
And this is the 50th episode of But Have You Tried? It's a But Have You Tried bookshelf, everybody.
50 whole episodes.
It's a real milestone.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you get somebody for a 50th podcast?
I don't know.
$50 episodes, so pretty much 2 years.
Yeah.
Going strong. Do you have a favorite episode? Do you remember a single episode that we've done?
I do remember some of the episodes we've done. Do I have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm curious. I've enjoyed some of the more like hands-on. I really like the painting episode. That was recent.
That was fun.
I really liked the miso soup, and that wasn't just because you brought delicious soup for me to eat. I like that. That was a fun time.
I think the miso soup does stand out as the most memorable episode for me, if only because I walked down Main Street carrying a pot of soup.
That's true. You did. The ice cream episode, obviously. That was fun.
That was pretty good.
So, yeah, a lot of good times. Indiana Jones, another one that I liked. And I need to play this new Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, this game. But it's not on PS5 yet, and that's what I have. So I just got to bide my time. I got to wait.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I'm not doing that, but I am doing some other things. So let's dust off this bookshelf and see what's going on. You know what? Let's go weird. What have you been doing just normal? Just out in your life, wandering the streets? What have you been up to?
I'm going to be honest. It's winter. I haven't been doing that much.
Okay, that's fine. We've covered the glasses.
Keeping a low profile. I did buy a new winter coat.
Okay.
Because I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being cold every time I leave my house. I'm sick of it.
Yep.
So I bought this coat that goes down like past my knees.
Yeah.
It's like puffy and down, and it's got a hood. And it feels like I'm walking around wearing a sleeping bag, and I'm really okay with that situation.
Okay. Well, the other day, as I was leaving, you were walking out the back door, and I was like, I don't know who this pipe cleaner of a person is who's broken into the library. So I didn't recognize you. So it's also a disguise.
Yeah, I can't hear very well with the hood.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing my hat and the hood, I cannot hear pretty well at all. So I didn't even know you were coming up behind me until I turned around and you were right there.
Right there.
So it is, there are some hazards associated with this coat, but it is all worth it.
Batman in the 80s Batman movie couldn't turn his head. He had to turn his whole body.
If I turn my head, I just see the hood.
Just inside the hood. Yeah. But it did make you look very tall. I don't know. I mean,
that's definitely a benefit.
But you did look. Yeah, you.
Well, I feel like my old coat had a very certain childish aspect to it, which I didn't like because of how the thing where I'm trying to convince people that I really am an adult.
Okay.
And they don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
But you know how old I am.
That's true. I do. I've seen it in legal documents. So.
Yeah, it's true. You know for sure, Z's.
Yep. Okay, so you got a new coat.
I got a new coat.
Yeah, that's.
But other than that, I've just been like at home writing.
Yeah.
Reading.
All right.
The usual.
Yeah. I have played some fun video games because I've also been largely inside. But we did have work done in our garage, which I think I talked about. And the garage is like fixed, and we could just use it.
That's amazing.
Park our car in it. It's a good time. It's a happy time. But I also got a game called Funko Fusion, which I beat, and I was very sad about it. It's like finishing a good book, you know. I was done, and I was like, but can't there be more missions? So very pop culture heavy. I don't know that you would have gotten the references in this Funko Fusion game.
Wow, some real judgment here already, and the episode has barely started.
No, it's bizarre. It's bizarre stuff. You know, it's Scott Pilgrim, which we have established that you've seen the movie, so it is movie based. But then it's like Battlestar Galactica and like The Thing and the Umbrella Academy, and I don't think these are in your wheelhouse.
I did watch one episode of the Umbrella Academy.
Well, that's one more than me. I've read some of the comics, but I haven't watched any of the show. So.
I thought it was pretty good, but I feel like overall it might be a little too violent for me.
Yeah, I could see that. Funko Fusion was actually surprisingly violent sometimes, depending on the world you were in.
I would not expect that.
Yeah, I know. It was odd. But once you kind of opened up all the levels, and then it's like within levels, there's like a little hidden level. And so like, oh, now I'm in the Back to the Future world. But it was kind of cool because as the game progressed, to beat a level, you would have to switch between all these fandoms. You'd be like, oh, I have to be He-Man to break this thing in the Scott Pilgrim world. And then I have to be like Marty from Back to the Future to make this amp work. And so, you know, you're switching through all these characters across all these many fandoms. And it was fun. I think it was kind of a dud. Like, I don't think people liked it, so there probably won't be a sequel, but that makes me sad.
I need to say something that might be kind of stupid that I just remembered because of Back to the Future.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So I was on Blue Sky the other day.
Yeah.
And I saw
I'm having
this
a good
post.
time with Blue Sky.
I know,
you know
me too.
what?
Yeah, it's been fun. I saw this post that was like, which Back to the Future movie actually has actual time travel in it? I'm thinking it's 2, but it might be 3. And I just looked at that and I was like, don't they all have time travel in them? And then I was questioning my knowledge of A, the Back to the Future movies, and B, what counts as time travel.
Okay. Do they mean... I mean, 2 is the only one where they go into the future.
What? That's what I was wondering. I was like, do you mean traveling into the future?
Yeah.
Or like...
Right.
I didn't understand, but
Right.
it definitely made me question myself on a number of levels.
I think that's the only thing I can think of, because the first one is basically the 50s, and the third one is the 1880s. But the second one, they do go to 2015, which was their future, our past.
I know.
So,
it's funny how those things happen.
It. Maybe that's it. Love those movies. They're so good.
They're really good.
Man, I love them so much. All right. So yes, I've been playing that, and then I started a Marvel game called Midnight Suns, which is it's like a turn-based kind of thing, and it's fun. I like it. I skip some cutscenes sometimes, and both my wife and my son are like, "That's the whole story." I'm like, "Yeah,
that does
play."
Seem like a weird thing to do. I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of it is like you have to build up the character with like interpersonal kind of stuff, and like I don't need to go to a book club with Blade and Captain America. I just want to.
Okay,
go and like.
But
fight.
like.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity to go to a book club with Blade and Captain America.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm in the minority here, so you must be correct. I don't know. What about music? You listen to, I mean, probably some Ben Folds. Have you creeped Ben Folds in yet?
I have not yet.
You're dragging your feet.
I know. A lot of the
2
time
weeks.
I do wait until the bookshelf episode and then
Wow.
I absolutely binge.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I forget that
50
time is
episodes
passing.
in and-
My
yeah.
concept of days going by doesn't exist until we're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're recording the bookshelf. And I'm like, half of
Yeah.
my time is gone.
My wife heard the last episode and was like, you have to listen to Rock in the Suburbs too, which, I've passed this on to you, but I just want listeners to know we also have to talk about Rock in the Suburbs. So, and we do have the recent album. It's here. So if you still have a CD player, you can come and check it out, play it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's weird. Do you have a CD player?
I do have a CD player.
Good for you. Yeah. I have an old one. It's still I have to lay it on its back, and otherwise it won't play. But it does work. So
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep. But so not Ben Folds. Is
Not
there
Ben
other
Folds.
music that you're listening to?
I've been listening to a bit of Jack Johnson. Got back in the mood
Sure.
for him recently.
All right.
I feel like Jack Johnson is one that like he's never been like my favorite, but like he's just kind of always loosely in the rotation.
Sure.
Like it's never a bad day to listen to Jack Johnson.
Mm-hmm. I've been listening to some McCartney. The first McCartney album is just called McCartney, which I think maybe we did back on House Things. I think we talked about that first album.
That feels
a
very
little bit,
possible.
but I listened. That's one of my depression cure albums, and I've been a little down lately, so listening to some of that. But last episode we were talking about Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, and I was at Music Alley here downtown in Wellsville, and the Mike Nesmith solo album Magnetic South was just there. And I've like seen this record in the wild maybe once before, and it was very expensive. So I found it, I got it, I listened to it. It's great. So I've been having a good time with that.
That's a very satisfying moment.
I've been in a
I'm
Mike
happy for
Nesmith mood. Yeah. All right, so let's get back on the beaten path here, and let's talk about TV shows today. Uh-oh. I see. I see something happening. Yep.
I have a single offering for
Okay.
TV shows.
All right.
Which is better. I was thinking about it this morning and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But I managed to come up with one.
Okay.
Only Murders in the Building,
Yes.
Season 4.
Season 4. Is that the most recent?
Yes.
So you're up to date.
We have not finished Season
Okay.
4, so not quite.
But that's been your... Okay.
That is in progress.
I don't know. I don't know why I can't get into that show. I really...
Something is wrong with you.
I know.
You probably need to see a
Sorry.
medical professional about it.
I've got a few TV shows to tell you about, and one of them is sad. I love the show Kim's Convenience, which we have discussed before, and there was a 2-season spinoff called Strays, and it was, Canadian only, so like you can't find it anywhere. Couldn't find it anywhere. And I finally found it on one of those free, I think it was Tubi. Have you ever used Tubi?
I don't
know. It's a free streaming service, and it had both seasons. It's 20 episodes, so I was so delighted. So I was watching those, and I was sick, and I finished season 1, and I was going to start season 2, but then I was like, no, I should drag myself out of bed and, go take a Dayquil or something. And so I didn't. And then I went back to watch it another time. Gone.
Oh my
Season
gosh.
1 is still on. I think season 1 is even on Peacock now. But season 2 is just inexplicably missing from all streaming.
That's really weird. Okay,
Yeah.
but you said it's Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever tried to use a VPN to be like, hey, I'm in Canada. I can definitely watch Canadian
because
things?
I'm not a little hacker like
Okay.
you. Wait, could you hook me up?
Maybe.
Really? Okay. All right.
I can at least try.
Okay. This sounds promising. But I did enjoy season 1. It was, the character was kind of a minor character, and Kim's Convenience goes off and is the head of this animal shelter with, a quirky cast. And it was fun. It's not the same energy as Kim's Convenience at all, but I still was really liking it, and I was ready to dive into season 2. And it must be some rights thing. I don't know why it went away.
That's the worst. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah. And it's especially frustrating because season 1 is still there.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I finished.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I finished. Ugh. So there's that. And then speaking of things I finished, I also watched the second season, which is the final season of Shining Vale, which I think we may have talked about the first season forever ago. But this is Courtney Cox from Friends, Greg Kinnear from television and film work. You've Got Mail, for example.
Okay.
He's a lone read. And it's good. It's like a horror comedy. And the first season had a pretty tight story, and the second season picked up, and it was it was pulling different elements of horror into it, but it also consistently managed to be a comedy as well, which I think is a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Finished season 2, and they certainly laid the groundwork for a season 3, and I would have watched it, but I'm okay with 2 seasons also. I think it's a pretty good show, and I think it's worth the watch if you like that kind of thing. The other thing I finished was My Adventures with Superman season 2. Have you watched any of that show?
I have not.
Really? It seems like
I've thought about it.
Your husband would enjoy.
Yeah,
also.
it does. I feel like maybe he has seen some of it, actually. I'll have to ask him.
I don't know, not fully my jam. It's very like anime inspired.
I was going to say, I feel like I remember there being a certain resistance to this concept from you in the past.
Yes, but it's not that. It's not the anime element of it. It's the characterizations of all the characters. They kind of put Lois and Jimmy and Clark all in this like dorky friend vibe. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the archetypes of, Clark / Superman having this dual thing going on, and Jimmy sort of being the younger one, and Lois being this like cool, confident, like successful, like she's the good one of them, like career-wise. But they're all just very much on the same level, and there's like a goofiness to it that I don't really get into so much. But season 2 has Supergirl, who's, that's one of my favorites. And there are some really cool episodes where it's just Superman and Supergirl. I don't want to give anything away, but like separated from the others. And it felt very much like a thing that I have not seen before, like those two characters interacting in a way that I've read in comics, but I haven't seen like up on the screen. So for that reason, I was pretty into season 2.
Okay.
So, and I assume there'll be a season 3. I think the show is pretty beloved. So, Did you ever end up watching any of Star Trek Lower Decks?
I haven't.
No? Okay.
I haven't seen any of it.
Because it's Jack Quaid who voices Boimler on Lower Decks, is Superman in this show. And that's another thing that I have trouble.
Oh, you have to like...
Because it's just those characters are so different, but he doesn't change the voice at all.
Oh,
and
man,
it's just
that's
kind
hard.
Of
I'm amazed by how much some people can change their voices and make you feel like it's a different person.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot when I'm listening to audiobooks.
Yeah.
And sometimes the narrator will change their voice like just a little bit to be a different character. But in my brain, it's like completely different.
Totally different.
Like you could tell me that a different person is saying that and I would probably believe you.
Yeah, true. Well, I think Mark Hamill, who's best known as Luke Skywalker, but also is a prolific voice actor and has voiced the Joker a million times. And it's like, if you can kind of pull out things, but it's such a difference. It's pretty impressive. Speaking of things that you probably don't have a lot on your list of, how about movies?
I have a couple movies.
All right.
So, all my siblings were on break from their various schoolings. We shifted out of our normal routine of taking turns choosing a movie for Friday Night Movie.
How often do you do this family movie thing?
Usually once a week.
That is so wholesome.
Yeah.
Very wholesome.
It is pretty wholesome, I have to say.
Okay.
But so we were like, well, more people are here. The cycle's thrown off. We'll just choose something together, which turned out to be very difficult, which is part of why we switched to taking turns choosing in the first place.
Yeah.
But we finally settled on we wanted to watch some form of Batman movie.
All right.
And this sparked a lot of debate about what Batman movie, because my brother Wes hasn't seen anything Batman before. So we were like, something that'd be a good introduction or summary would be good. And then some suggestions were posed, and they were either too long or too dark, or we'd already seen them.
Gotcha.
So we ended up watching Batman Begins.
Okay.
And I think everyone was kind of like, yeah, that was fine. And then
Yeah,
Caleb had a little bit of an existential crisis, didn't realize that there were things about the movie that were poorly done that he hadn't realized before.
They are poorly done. I know. I never really... That was never like, this is my Batman, you know. I have trouble with Christian Bale as Batman. I hate the Batman voice he does. I don't know. Those movies never really clicked for me fully. Like, I enjoy them. I watched Dark Knight Rises most recently, and that's the one that I probably has the most critical response to. But I really like Anne Hathaway as Catwoman in that, and I felt like, you know, probably because there's less Batman in it, I liked it more because I just don't jive with that Batman. But yeah, Batman Begins, I don't know. It's always a tough pill to swallow that he has this like best friend gal pal. I feel like that goes against...
It feels like they can't decide what they want that relationship to be.
Yeah. I just think it makes no sense. I mean, the whole thing about Batman Bruce Wayne is that he's like alone. He's isolated. His parents die, and it's like it's just him. But he has this like supportive best friend. I can't.
But like sometimes they don't see each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we're sad that we haven't talked.
Yeah.
And there's like always some vague romantic dynamics, but also not.
Yeah.
And
the way that
odd.
relationship progresses in the next movie too, and in the actress switch, it's all very, I don't know. Yeah. So I feel like I'm in the minority, but that's not one that I gravitate towards. So did you like it? I mean, what did you think?
I mean, it was fine. I had a good time watching it, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel very whatever about it, I guess.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Robert Pattinson, like the Batman?
We did watch the Batman.
Do you like it?
That was on the table for one that we might watch, but we were all like, that's too long. We can't do it.
It is long. It is long.
It is long. I think it would benefit from being shorter, if only because I'd be more likely to want to rewatch it.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it.
Yeah. I went in with pretty low expectations, and I saw that in the Grand Theater across the street here, which we recently toured. And I really liked it. And we watched it again pre-Christmas because I really wanted to watch The Penguin, which comes right after that. So we rewatched the movie and then rolled right into Penguin. And I think the movie holds up, and I thought The Penguin was great. So, you know, it was a surprise. Yeah. Are you going to continue the trilogy? Are you going to watch Dark Knight? Dark Knight is so dark. That one.
Yeah, because that one, I had seen before.
Yeah.
And we were saying like, well, that's probably the best, like the most iconic Batman of that like series.
Sure, definitely.
But I was like, I don't know if I want to rewatch that. It was a good experience to watch it once, but
I loved Batman Forever so much when I was a kid, but it's not one that holds up as well as an adult because tonally it's all over the place, but I don't know. If I had to settle in for a Batman movie, I would probably go classic Michael Keaton, like Batman 89, even though he can't turn his head. I think that's probably where I'd go. So, okay. I watched We Live in Time with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. That one went briefly viral for the picture of the horse on the poster. Do you remember that? Did you see that at all?
I did.
It's very funny. You should look it up. The movie's not funny. It's a tearjerker of a movie, but you know, Andrew Garfield is just an actor that I enjoy watching do things. And same with Florence Pugh. And so the two of them together, their chemistry was very good. And they are two actors that make interesting choices. And I appreciate that. Not wacky choices, just often in a scene, there's a traditional way to do something. And it's like they both find ways to sort of circumvent the expectation while still hitting the mark that I find impressive.
I haven't seen like all of Florence Pugh's stuff, but I will say everything that I have seen has been good.
Yeah.
Like I've never watched anything Florence Pugh did and been
she's so great in Black Widow, you know.
I know.
You don't typically think of Marvel movies as like, look at this powerhouse performance, but
she does really, a really good job.
Yeah, she does. She does. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good. What else did you got?
I also watched Ponyo. This was another family.
Oh, sure, I've seen that.
Family watch.
That's one of the few that I have seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's Tina Fey, right? Tina Fey is the.
That sounds right.
She's the mom, I think.
I think she's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not always great at recognizing people's voices in context like that. I think I just, unless it's very distinct, I just get so absorbed by the story.
Yeah.
And then later people will be like, oh yeah, that was so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, it was. But I enjoyed this one. It was weird and confusing, which is, you know,
that one's
pretty
like
typical.
Vaguely Little Mermaid, right?
Yeah, it is Vaguely Little Mermaid. But the whole, like, first, I don't know, 20 or so minutes, it's like this little blob fish girl. And she's like mostly just a red blob with like a humanoid face.
Yeah.
and she's swimming around, and she gets caught in a pail by a boy, right?
Sure.
And everyone is like, "Oh, a goldfish." And we were all like, what is happening? Like, that is not a goldfish.
Not a goldfish,
Like,
no.
is it that we, the watcher, are seeing something different? We're supposed to believe that they are seeing a goldfish? Or is that what goldfish look like in this? It raised a lot of questions.
Yeah. Goldfish questions.
Goldfish questions
Sure.
that were not resolved.
I'm
but
surprised
the movie
you
was
didn't-
fun.
Yeah, okay. I guess I thought you would have liked that more because you're so in the bag for a good Selkie story, which I know that's
I really liked it. I was just
okay.
extremely confused about the gold because everyone was
they
like
couldn't
so
recognize a
confidently like,
goldfish.
this is a goldfish. And I was like, it's clearly a magical sea creature.
It feels like you're focusing on the wrong part. But
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. Sometimes those things get in your craw. I watched Heretic with Hugh Grant and Sophie Thatcher. Do you know about this at all?
I don't think so.
Well, it's two young women who are Mormon missionaries going door to door, and they go to Hugh Grant's, and he invites them in, and right away it's like, what is weird here? Like something is off. But what is the thing that's off? And it gets progressively. I mean, it's a horror movie, and it lives up to that. Which is usually not my bag, but it was such an odd performance from Hugh Grant that I was transfixed.
Fair enough.
And by the end of it, I was like, I think that delivered on what it was setting up, but it in the middle kind of veers towards this different thing, and I was so invested in that when it becomes more traditional, I was like, well, okay, worth it. I think for all the performances, I think are good, but probably not your cup of tea.
Probably not.
So
I have to say the idea of having to go like door to door and talk to people about something like that.
Yeah.
Truly one of my worst nightmares.
When I ran for town board, I had to go door to get signatures. And I didn't like that, but I did it.
Good for you.
So,
well, some of it is like, it's not that I don't like dogs, but I am scared of dogs until I know that they are nice dogs.
I see.
And if I'm knocking on a stranger's door and their dog is barking, I don't know that their dog is nice.
Yeah.
And that idea is very alarming to me.
Yeah, I could see that. You did okay with my dogs.
I know. Well, I trusted that your dogs were nice.
We're
I
fine.
figured you guys would do a good job if not having mean dogs.
Right. Yeah, I think we've succeeded.
Yeah.
So
good job.
They're both wearing sweaters right now because it's too cold.
It is freezing out.
It's too cold. The last movie I watched, I've been watching a lot of Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks and The Mads Are Back and all these like movie riffing kind of things, which is not a world that you've really entered, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, Riff Tracks did this thing that was the Mystery Science Theater reunion, and so it had people from all the eras of the show, including the recent Netflix revival, and they kind of broke up, and they each riffed different shorts and things, and then they had a couple of, goofy educational shorts at the end that everybody riffed together, so it was like all the different eras of these comedians, and it was really fun. I watched it with my son, who's like really getting into it. He has to watch these all the time. So my son and wife and I, we all watched this, and it was fun. It was nostalgic, and it was kind of cool to see the different eras come together. So I would recommend it.
That does sound fun.
All right. Well, let's get to it then. Books. What are you reading, Allie?
Books. What am I currently reading?
Whatever you like. Tell me what you finished.
Okay. Well, I finished the Betsy Tacy series.
Oh no!
I know.
I thought you were pacing yourself.
I was pacing myself.
You said specifically. You said Louise Penny is still writing, so there's not such a pressure on that. But there's no more.
I know.
It's a finite number, so you're going to take your time.
I
That was
messed
what,
up.
a month ago?
So here's what happened,
Oh my
okay?
gosh, you're out of control.
I had like 3 left, and it was Christmas break.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's not even true.
That's what you see. You should have played Funko Fusion. That's what I did.
I
was like,
know.
I'm going to have all this time.
I know. It was Christmas break.
Okay.
And I was like, I kind of just want to read another one of these.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll get off from the library. I'm starting some other books. It's fine. It'll take me a while to read it.
Okay.
It did not take me a
Didn't
while
take
to
you
read
long.
it. I then found out there was like a spin-off book that happened in between
Okay.
a couple
I'll buy you some time.
of the books. So I read that in like a day, I want to say. It was just as good as the main series.
Okay.
And then I was not going to read the last one.
Sure.
But then I got sick over the weekend.
Oh, well.
And none of my books had any interest for me under
Yeah.
the sickness.
I'll make an exception for
So
that.
I finished it.
Hey, you know what this reminds me? We were somewhat racing to finish the Tommy and Tuppence series,
know.
even though I had a 2-decade lead on you.
Yes.
I read them all. You stopped.
I did. Well, because once I realized that I could not beat you, I was like, I might as well pace myself with these.
So those you can show restraint on. But,
Yes.
Okay. Well, my wife and I were watching a show of partners in crime, and in it, Tuppence is reading a Dorothy Sayers book.
That's really
so it was
incredible.
like multi-levels, like an Inception, speaking of Christopher Nolan, level of references, to you in this podcast. So
I feel like Tuppence would like Dorothy L. Sayers. It makes perfect sense.
I mean, now there's screen precedence for that being, let's say it's canon.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
She did. You going to go back and read Tommy Tuppence?
Yeah, at some point.
I don't think you've read the one that was my favorite, because the penultimate one I thought was very good.
I haven't gotten that far.
You got to get there.
Yeah, I do.
I need to go back, because over Christmas, my friend Bo and we did our Christmas book club, and he read a Miss Marple, and I've actually never read a Miss Marple. Doesn't that seem weird?
That does seem weird.
Have you
I don't
read
think
a Miss
I've read a
Marple?
Miss Marple.
Should we, separate from But Have You Tried, should we pick a Miss Marple to read together?
That sounds
and
fun.
Then discuss. Okay. Do we just go with the first one? Do we pick the best one? Do we pick the most iconic one? We can figure this out at our own time.
Sounds good.
But I think we should, because I need to right that wrong. I don't remember why we were talking about that. Oh, because you burned through your books.
I know.
Oh, jeez.
I made a foolish choice.
You did.
Short-sighted.
I picked up one, again, it was a Christmas break thing. I picked up one called Inside Threat by Matthew Quirk. And it was just kind of, it looked to me like sort of a 90s political thriller, like someone's after the president, like a clear and present danger kind of situation. So I picked it up, and it started pretty good, but it was very long for that kind of book. It was like pushing 600 pages. And
That does feel like a lot.
It's long. And very early on, the threat is established, and then they're kind of like, all right, we got to outfox this threat. And it stayed at that level of intensity, and it just felt like hundreds of spinning wheels of pages. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't. So I was kind of hoping to get back into something like that, because I used to really like those kind of books, and I just don't have the patience for them anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could see that.
But I really think if this would have been cut in half, I would have finished it and probably read another one. But it was too long.
Short books are where it's
just
at.
too long.
Yeah.
So I can't really say much good about that. I did read Sunshine Girl by Juliana Margulies. You know who that is?
Nope.
She's an actress. I know her primarily from ER, but she was also in The Good Wife and Canterbury's Law and other things, And I just picked this up randomly, and she had this crazy life. Like, her parents are divorced really early on, and it's like they're living all around the world in all of these, like, it's a very David Copperfield kind of situation where it's like she's in this weird place and she's living in this weird boarding school, and now she's with this parent, and now she's with this parent. And it was like I couldn't even assemble in my mind like how it got there. And she didn't even talk about like ER or The Good Wife or the things that she's like famous for. But
That's
I didn't
really interesting.
miss it, what
right,
I mean?
because everything else was interesting
It
enough.
was very interesting, yeah. And like, I mean, sure, I would have liked more ER stories, definitely. But it really stands on its own as, I mean, it feels more like a novel because it's just so, I don't know. I think you'd enjoy it. And you do not have to have any sort of knowledge of her as an actress or a human being, because it's, it stands on its own. I listened to most of the audiobook, and she reads it, and she has a very interesting and compelling kind of voice. So the audiobook was great too. So those are the things I've finished. You got any comics in the hopper?
I still sadly am pretty low on the comics front.
I need a good webtoon. I opened up the app the other day and I was looking for some. I'm a little behind on Heartstopper, but I was looking for there was a superhero one that I really liked. I was just trying to find something, and I don't know. I need a little adventure. I need a little comedy, dash of romance maybe. You can guide me.
If I know of anything off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, playing Funko Fusion did get me interested in some. That's why I read Umbrella Academy, because I hadn't. So I read Umbrella Academy, and then I read a few Battlestar Galactica things. I read a novelization from the new show, and I read a classic, a comic book based on the classic 70s era of the show, and that was really fun. So that's kind of where my comic reading has been at in weird places. What are you currently reading?
I am currently reading The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, the first Discworld book ever Discworlded.
Look at you.
And it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It like feels like Discworld, but also not.
All right.
So that's very interesting. It has chapters.
Okay.
Which they typically do not.
Interesting.
So that's weird.
Figuring it out.
But I'm also reading All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Just started that as an audiobook.
I read that.
It's been good so far.
Yeah.
I'm finding it intriguing.
That was like, every once in a while, it's like everybody does a movie about the same thing. Like there was all the Penguin movies like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was really the time of like World War II. Because it was like the Nightingale and there's a bunch that came out around that time. That was all like, these are World War II stories. So I read it, and I remember liking it. It's all I've read by him. I haven't read any of his other stuff.
Did they make a Netflix movie of it?
I'm pretty sure they did.
Because I think I might have seen like a preview for it and been like, oh, that looks interesting. I should remember to read the book. And then it was free on Libby, and I was like, haha, I'll snap it up.
Mark Ruffalo's in it, and Hugh Laurie.
Oh.
So there's
wow. Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's not bad. But you finished some other things too, right?
I did
get
finish
into all
a
of
few
that.
other things.
What do you got?
I also finished In Want of a Suspect by Tears of Price.
Okay.
This is, those Jane Austen murder mysteries that I love so much?
Yes.
This is a spin-off. So after Lizzie
You're
and
finding
Darcy...
all these. All right.
Well, I mean, like, she wrote... I know, I am doing a good job with my spin-off series lately.
You are.
She wrote this as, like, a sequel to the Pride and Premeditation of, like, after they deal with that mystery, here's another mystery that Lizzie and Darcy have to deal with.
Okay.
It was fun.
All right.
I'm eager to see if she does the whole set of Jane Austen.
Okay.
I'm curious because she's been going strong with the like transforming the titles to involve murder.
Okay.
But the one that I think is gonna cause all the problems is Emma because it's just Emma.
All right.
There's only so much you can work with that.
Yeah.
So not sure how that's gonna work, but I enjoyed the book, so that was good.
All right. All right. Let's see. I am currently reading right now The Last Mona Lisa by Jonathan Santlifer. And this is one that I ordered it. I remember ordering it. And I just kind of came across it when I was looking for something. I didn't really want like a mystery, and I didn't want anything like too intense. And this is about a guy who is... His grandfather, or his great-grandfather, had stolen the Mona Lisa, like around the turn of the century, which is a real thing. Like the Mona Lisa was stolen. And so it kind of takes that as its start, and this guy is researching his great-grandfather. And once he starts poking into this theft, there's like people suddenly become interested in this and are kind of maybe trying to stop him. And I'm sort of feeling like maybe the stolen Mona Lisa is like the real Mona Lisa. Like maybe the one in the Louvre is not the real Mona Lisa. I feel like maybe that's where the book is going.
Okay.
Like there's a whiff of mystery about which is the real Mona Lisa. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So yeah, it is kind of good. And then I started, and you can't judge me because you watched all of Bridgerton, but I started Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, the latest of those
I'll withhold my judgment.
Spicy
Did you read
Dragon
the other
books.
two?
I did read the other two, yeah. I think I like the first one better. And the second one felt not a retread necessarily, but it's like the world has been established. And so they have a little bit of this thing where it's like, okay, all this crazy stuff has happened. Let's reset a little bit and then we'll start again and new crazy things will happen. So, but I like them enough that when my hold came up for this one, I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. So,
Fair enough.
Do you think this day will ever come for you?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
I mean, so many people that I know love it, but I don't know. I just don't feel inspired to do it.
I mean, we had people waiting on the day the book dropped to come in and check out this book. And this was not a book that publishers sent early, so we did not have it ready to go out the door on day one. So I had to send disappointed people away. And it crashed like Target's website. Barnes and Noble was sold out of this
Barnes
book.
and Noble was sending me personal emails about it. Like, are you ready for the release of Honest?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, man, this is
but
getting
it did.
serious.
I mean, this truly broke the internet for a moment there. So
yeah, I feel like it reminds me of some of the like bigger book releases of like the 2000s that I don't feel like we've really seen something like that for a while.
I don't think even the Hunger Games really hit that level of fever pitch. Like I can't think of anything since like, I hate to say it, but since Harry Potter, like that there's been that much.
Yeah,
fervor
that's probably what I
around
would
it.
think of too. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
kudos to Rebecca Yarros.
But I got
that's all I
my
can say.
hold came in on Libby, so
nice. So you're all set.
So yeah, I have begun that. Anything else for the greater good of But Have You Tried that you'd like to discuss?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, now you've revealed to us that you have not been listening to Ben Folds.
I know.
So now you have to do a crash course in Ben Folds over the next
I
couple
think
of
I've
weeks.
got time.
I think you could handle it. It's just listening to a couple albums.
Yeah.
But you got to get a feel for it.
I think I can do that. I think I have time.
Yeah. And you can't be grumpy and dismissive like me. You have to, you know what I mean?
I'll go into it with
So,
a good attitude. That's
Thank
all I
you.
can promise.
Thank you. That's good. That's more than I could promise, so I really can't hold your feet to the fire on that. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about Ben Folds. The ones that I suggested were,
Songs for Silverman.
thank you, and
Shoot.
What Matters Most.
There
the
we
new
go.
one. But the extra credit is Rockin' the Suburbs, which is the first Ben Folds album that I ever heard was Rockin' the Suburbs. So it does make sense.
It is fitting.
to
And
toss
Hillary
that one
has
in there.
threatened to just send me other Ben Folds assignments at
She
any
could do it.
time, so
Yep.
I feel prepared for that.
She's the
to
expert.
occur.
This was one that she introduced me to, so that's right. Okay, well then I guess that's going to do it for this week's episode of But Have You Tried? We'll see you in 2 weeks when hopefully neither one of us is sick, because it's
Amen.
been a journey. So, all right, see you then.